All right. Yeah, man. So yeah, I was gonna let you try and recoup from last week and do your Kabaddi for 30 seconds and see if you could actually make it this time. So we're gonna let you take a breath and get yourself prepared if you want to take on the Kabaddi 30-second challenge again. Mind you, I don't want to do this because I don't find myself that cardiovascular in shape. Because I've watched some of these dudes off-season workouts now. Got a lot more respect for what they do, man. Bro, their off-season workouts are a lot of cardio. A lot.
We're talking dead sprints, like.
I mean, they're sprinting back and forth. These guys, like, they're doing gym workouts. Like right now, when they're not playing, they're working out and like that's what they do. Like, I mean, these guys are professional athletes staying in shape the whole time.
Well, I don't doubt it. My Kabaddi 30-second challenge. All right. Should I take some dragon breaths? That's the worst part of yoga for me is that deep breathing. So, all right, let's do this.
Hold on. I got to get the clock started.
Is my raid? Is my turn?
Yeah, man. And let's see here. Your raid starts now.
Kabaddi, 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 Kabaddi,
5, 4,
Kabaddi,
3,
Kabaddi,
2,
Kabaddi,
1.
Kabaddi,
Kabaddi.
Kabaddi. Ah!
You made
All
it.
right, I can make it, but I'm not moving. I was trying to wiggle a little bit, but I'm not like running and dodging and thinking. That would be very difficult.
Next week you get to jog in place. It is now time for the Super Raid Podcast with your host, G and Lee.
We'll do it at the end of the show. I'll be like, all right, let me get some warm ups. Let me stretch.
No way, dude. You got a raid from the jump, bro. You're the
man. Have you seen those guys warm up? I saw one of them. I saw Arjan warming up this morning, and that guy was doing high like kicks, like that Rockettes. He was getting full. His knee was fully locked, and he was getting all the way. Man, that dude was.
Arjan went off for what 17 today, 17, I think. Bro, went bananas today. Man, we got so much to talk about as far as all the seeds and the standings and how all that's gonna go. Like, there are a couple teams that are in right now that are definitely in trouble, but I mean that's just woo. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Super Raid Podcast. Your man leads, my man G. We're always here, and ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been with us before, it's Kabaddi, 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 Kabaddi. Now, what we're going to do to open this show is to remind you there are 5 simple rules, or we like to call them G and Lee's 5 rules to Kabaddi. And they are:
rule number 1, don't get kicked in the face. I don't know if you were watching this week. Actually, I take that back. I know you were watching because you were watching. It's Kabaddi, Kabaddi all the time.
Kabaddi, Kabaddi.
The Raider came in. He was working the left side, working the right side. He went back to the left, and then he was like scorpion kicks. He turned around, he threw that leg back, and the defender was in the wrong spot. He got 100% foot across his, not so much here or here, radio, and sorry, it's podcast, but I'm pointing to the whole left side of my face. Right here in this area. I don't know how he kept his teeth, but
dude,
it was
I watched so many people get kicked this weekend, bro. Dude, I've seen so many people get kicked in the last week. Like, I saw like 6 or 7 dudes get kicked. I think I saw 4 people get kicked today alone.
I actually saw rule number 1 is don't get kicked in the face, but I saw a karate kick, like a true like like hit him square in the label of his jersey. Went, you're out. I hope you ankle grab. If not, but follow rule number 1, gentlemen, don't get kicked in the face.
Hey, rule number 2. Remember, this is a gentleman's game, and treat it as such, please. Remember, be respectable, go hard, always go hard, but have respect for your fellow competitors. Remember, this mat is only an inch and a half thick. Have some respect for everybody when you're trying to take them down, because you don't want to hit the ground that hard either.
But what happens if I got beef? Like, sometimes don't I have to say something?
Hey, man, you say something really harsh, and you might get a card. The way cards go: green cards, yellow cards, red cards. Found this out. Green cards, you can get 2 of them, you get a yellow card. Yellow cards, you go to the sin bin. If at any point you get a red card, that is a technical disqualification for the rest of the match. That is also a disqualification soccer style, which means they do not get to replace you. Your team will then play a man down, but will not show that they are a man down on the scoreboard the rest of the game.
I love that.
Wow.
I love 2 of those things that you said. In America, we have a penalty box. In Kabaddi, we have a sin bin. I love it. It's perfect. That's where you go. You get in trouble, you go to the sin bin. Go sit over there.
But dude, the technical getting booted and they can't replace you, woo, that is harsh. And that is really harsh. But let's get to rule number 3.
Know your lines. Once that Raider crosses the midline, the first thing you got to do is cross the balk line. It's only 3.75 meters away. A meter past that is the bonus line. If you're feeling brave, stick that front foot across that bonus line. If you catch a bonus, good things happen to you. You get bonuses. You also stave off a do or die raid. That's a good idea. Know your lines.
Speaking of knowing your lines, takes us straight to rule number 4. Hey, there is no loitering in the lobbies. The lobbies are not to hang out. They're not to loiter. They're not to be friendly in. The lobbies are only there to pen the smackdown after somebody has touched you. And if the Raider decides to go in the lobby before touching anybody, be sure not to follow, or you're both out.
But what about rule number 5? What if I'm committed? What if that's where I'm going to go? Because rule number 5 is no matter what you do in this game, be committed. If you're going to tackle somebody, tackle them. If you're going to go in there and get a touch point, touch them. There's no debate. Forget about the TV reviews. It doesn't matter. Be committed. Do what you got to do. Prove it. Make it happen.
Man, and speaking of number 5 and being committed, I think our boy Manny best describes number 5, dog.
Manny, personal quote, showed up on a Valentine's card. It was a wonderful quote. It was pulled. Maninder Singh, I don't even listen to myself once I've committed. Be committed. Once you decide it's time to go get some points, like Manny, he has to get all of the points. It's time to go get some points. The running hand tag, leave no debate. Go and get what you're going to do. If you're going to stop him, he's been stopped, but go in there. Get that tackle. Be committed. Make it happen.
Hey, you heard it right there. That is Gian Lee's 5 rules of Kabaddi. Remember, follow these 5 rules, and you will always have an enjoyable Kabaddi experience. Kabaddi, 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 Kabaddi. See you after the break.
The Viva Pro Kabaddi KPL.
Update test, baby. We're here for it.
This is current and active. Sometimes you check the websites, you check the apps, they're not quite right there. So we pulled this up. This is current to the moment that we're shooting. It is 11 p.m. in the U.S., which means it's almost mid-afternoon over there. What do we have? Who's sitting at 1? This is an easy.
February 15th. Oh, one has been one. They're on like a 5-game win streak, I think. Dude, they have been manhandling people right now. We all know the Pirates still sit at number 1. The Bang sitting at number 2. UPO at 3. The Haryana Steelers at 4. The Bulls at 5. The Paladin at 6. That's your top 6 that are in. Your 3 that are out that still have a chance to get in are the Pink Panthers, everybody's favorite, the Giants, and Yumamba.
Filling out the rest of the table, we have the Tumult All of Us, the Bengal Warriors, yay! And then the Telugu Titans.
Yeah, man. Hey, dude, this is about to get serious, bro. We've got 4 days of regular season competition left. We've got 2 today. We've got Triple Panga. on the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th, bro. It's going to be going insane. There's so many. The only team that's already guaranteed are the Pirates. I mean, they're so far ahead that they're 15 points ahead of second place. Like that's 3 games or 3 fixtures ahead of the next. That's 3 fixture wins ahead of the next team. I mean, they look dominant. Your boy, the Iranian assassin, had his hair out today, looking fluffy with the curl, bro. I mean, he was feeling good about himself. Was
They
bouncing.
should feel
So, yeah,
good.
man.
Their differential is 118 points.
Hey, remember differential later on in this podcast. We'll talk about differentials because that's a very funny number sometimes. All right. We still got, like I said, we got UP Yoda coming in at third place. We got the Bang at second, UP Yoda. And the Steelers, only problems we have coming up going into the playoffs after we get through here. UP Yoda and the Bulls only have 1 game left. Everybody else has 2, which puts them in an interesting situation, bro, because they got 1 game to cap out. And their caps, if everybody wins out, are 5th and 7th.
That's not good. The Bulls, they have a hard matchup. They have the Steelers. So if the Bulls and Powan did not have a fantastic game, they don't pull one out, you could be sitting at home with Manny. Can you think about that? The number 1 and number 2 top raters of the year could miss the playoffs.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, it is not a game. Like everybody's gonna come with everything they have from here on out. I mean, it's not like UP Yoda's gonna have a cakewalk. They got to play UMumba to finish the season, and UMumba has to win to even get a chance to get in. So it's not they're not going to roll over. They're going to give them everything they have. Which means the record breaker, dude. Do you imagine if the record breaker gets knocked out?
Wow, it could be the record breaker. Manny and Pawan all missed the playoffs.
No way! It can't. This can't happen. I think the record breaker is going to step up and do something insane. No, he's gonna do something insane against freaking UMumba. I call it now. I call it at least 15 points.
Wow. I think Fossil would have a little something to say about that.
Bro, Fossil
had a great game today,
too. Today, man. Fossil went 0 for 4.
Did he? He went 0 for 5 against us. I've seen him play really good, and I've seen him play really bad.
I've seen him play, like, as of late, he just hasn't played well the last week or so. Bro.
Well, it's not nearly as bad as Manjeet. Did you hear our gentleman? He is doing an excellent job at playing really bad.
Yes, he's doing an excellent job at being a bad defender. Yeah, man. So, we just did a quick little rundown here of what everybody's current projections are. And this is just say if your team wins all the way out, the max number of points your team could score. For the Pirates, it's 90. I mean, they're in first place whether they win out or not at this point because nobody could even score 80. Dude, they've got the number 1 seed locked up. Not just have their first bye. They have the number 1 seed locked down. From there, second place, looks like the Bang pretty much has it. If they win out, they'll hit 75, which will put them at least 2 points ahead of anybody else, including the Steelers would come in third with 73. You'd have the Paultons at fourth with 70. From there, it gets real tricky because you get to four teams within 2 points. Because you'd have UP Yoda at 68, you'd have the Panthers and the Giants both at 67, and the Bulls at 66, which means that puts the Bulls going home in 7th place. And then you'd have to figure out the tie between the Panthers and the Giants, which means one of those two are walking home as well. So it's going to get tight. And there's going to be some hurt feelings because, I mean, there's still a lot of Kabaddi to play, bro, which is so exciting that these last 3 days are going to mean everything.
So you're saying that the Bengals game still means something?
Hey, man, what I'm saying is fixture matches 124, 125 are going to, like, those two will tell us a lot as far as what's going to happen for the rest of the season, for the rest of the regular season. After those two, we're really going to know if they both lose or they both win is going to determine what everybody else has to do. and that's the Bulls and UP, man. I'm so excited, dude. Like, that's going to be a monster matchup to see those go down that morning. Because, I mean, we get to see two of the best. They have to do everything they can for their teams to win. I mean, it's win or you're out.
So how are you watching these? Where do you catch these games? How do I get to see everything? How do I not miss any action in the race for the playoffs?
Well, the funny part is we watch two different ways. I watch on the ESPN app, ESPN Plus. I mean, any way I can get to ESPN Plus. Sometimes I do it on my phone. Sometimes I do it on my iPad. Sometimes I do it on my TV. You watch a completely different method, which is absolutely hilarious to me.
I'm on Hulu.
I mean, seriously. That's because Disney is actually the digital provider for the Pro Kabaddi League, so it makes sense. But yeah, man, I mean, anybody, remember, you got free time in the mornings, pop that piece on for the next week. So
You have to, in America, you have to catch this live 9, 10, 11 on those triple panga beautiful days. The game makes so much more sense. The highlights will cover it, but you have to watch this sport live.
Absolutely, man. Like you said, you got to watch the sport live. Speaking of live, we'll see you out there at this live break.
Speaking of live, let's take a timeout.
Woo! And thank you to the special science or mystery of podcasting. That super long break only seems like a couple seconds for you guys. What's up, man? Welcome back. That was a really long time. But hey, welcome back, everybody. This section of the episode, we're going to talk about respect the game. Like, for you to really enjoy the game, you really need to know where the games come from, kind of what it does, what it represents, where it goes. And we're just going to try to spend a little time kind of getting you, I don't know if I wouldn't say inundated, but just I guess introduced to the sport as we'd like to the sport that we both greatly enjoy right now. So, hey man, do you want to hit him with a little knowledge?
Absolutely. Where did this game come from? Where's the history? Why do we not know more about it, especially in this country, as we're trying to spread the knowledge? Right now, we have one of those Olympic Games going on. It's winter. We wouldn't play it anyway. But this game, has it ever been in the Olympics? Well, we did some digging and we found out no, but it's been played at the Olympics. 1936 in Berlin, they exhibitioned. So cross your fingers. Maybe I'm not an Olympic fan. If they had sports like this, maybe they'd have a shot. So let's bring Pro Kabaddi, show the world what this sport offers, maybe get in the Olympics and figure out how to win some golds.
Absolutely, man.
Where did it come from, though? Before we can spread it everywhere, where did it start? Would you find out?
Hey, man, I found out that it originated from southern India, I guess is the best way to kind of describe it. It's believed to be derived from the Tamil word of Kabaddi, which means hold hands. So, I guess that makes sense. Because you're holding arms when you're playing the sport. So, it's pretty cool. The first international championships were in 1980. As far as it becoming a really big deal, Bangladesh actually declared it their national sport back in 1972. If you want to dig a little further back, the sport was actually standardized in 1922. And then it was actually formalized by the government, who took it over from the amateurs and actually really made it a big deal so that they could hold on and protect the sport in India in 1923. So, if you think about it, we're acting like it's new over here, but this sport has been around for 100 years as far as just being government verified, and 4,000 years before that as far as, what they can trace back of the sport. So, it's just a lot to take in on a sport that we're so new to over here.
Well, I'm really looking forward to learning about 4,000 years of history. I think we can do it. I think I can keep a spreadsheet of that.
Well, here's the crazy part. So the U.S. has kind of popped on the Kabaddi scene before, and the only way to describe it is awful. It's absolutely horrific. We went to the 2016 Kabaddi Masters in Dubai. Just for reference, we'll go ahead and cover how the good part of the tournament. Of course, India won, as expected. led by your boy Party. They balled out, beat everybody. The United States was there. We had a team that came from Jacksonville, Tennessee. Jacksonville, Florida was where they were based out of. From the highlights I could figure out, there was a DJ, a bodybuilder, a trainer, a dentist, making up the squad. They went there, and through the tournament, their point differential was negative 244. That is so bad that I truly believe that's why internationally we have not been invited back, because we truly Americanized something. We went over there and got destroyed. Think about it, dude. To have a negative 200 point margin in a tournament that you couldn't play more than 10 games in, we had to lose every game by at least 20 points.
That sounds about right. However,
That sounds like, yeah, and that is our problem. That's why, dude, right now we need to, when we're trying to introduce the sport, don't send a bunch of freaking pros over there, man. Take it to middle school. Teach wrestlers how to play the sport and let them learn how to be good at this sport. We're not going to jump in professional level and not get murdered. That's just how it's going to go. Like, we've got to learn to take this sport slow. Sorry, dude. This is just the coach in me that it's just, you got to build your foundation, man. I got so many coach speak things for this.
Get to it, buddy. Get to it. Well, as we learn through it, what kind of equipment? What do we need? How do we learn this game, Coach? Tell us more. I mean, granted, it's difficult. This is a tough game. How do we play? Well, what do we need to begin with?
Dude, first people need to remember, this is a contact sport. Now, it's not a collision sport. That's what everybody talks about with football. But this is still very much a contact sport. I mean, it is like wrestling. It is a contact sport, and people do get hurt. And it takes a lot for it to go on. I mean, it sounds kind of funny on this side of the pond, but they call the playing surface the Kabaddi mattress. It's about 1.2 inches thick for Americans. It's 33 millimeters for the rest of the world. I mean, if you're thinking about it, that's still not that thick. I mean, you're still hitting something that's a little bit of padding, but you're still going to smack the ground.
It's like a wrestling. It's like a high school wrestling mat. So that's still a pretty when you land.
Yeah, man. You got to be a grown man with this.
And you're running in specialized Kabaddi shoes. So I wrestled for 1 year. Was not my favorite thing in high school. Not a giant fan. I wish there was Kabaddi. I would have loved it much more. But the shoes, it's not a thick sole. It's just kind of a soft soled shoe. With this one, it's ankle supported. So you got to tie up a little higher because these guys twist. You can get rule number 1. Don't get one of those boots in your face.
Yeah, don't get the boot in the face, and also don't get your ankle yanked off. Because I mean that's the last bit of equipment we need to talk about, man. Is these guys really wear a lot of support stuff? I mean, shoulder supports as far as hands, knees, ankles. I mean, the kinesiology tape, like all that stuff, man. You really got to keep yourself protected. Because like wrestling, man, you guys are twisting and turning a lot of joints. I mean, I don't know. You wrestled, I never did. I mean, that just seems like that's a really intimate sport, dude. I just don't know.
Yeah, no thanks. It was not. It's beautiful to watch, and when it's done right, it's nice. But it's not Kabaddi.
But you know it is Kabaddi. These player positions we're about to talk about, because if you don't know all the players on the court, then you probably don't understand what they're talking about when you hear the commentators talking. So I will let my man G start with the positions from outside in.
Well, if we're going from the far outsides, each side you're going to come out with a corner. The corner is usually, obviously, your best defender. With that, let's name like Fazal, you have Manjeet. They're out there kind of controlling the defense. Directly in from them towards the center, you're going to have the ends. Usually the corner and the end will hold hands. That way you'll see them linked up. We're talking 7-on-7. Of course, as it starts to dwindle in players, you kind of mess around. But even if there's one, your one will kind of move over to that corner position. It's the best, safest spot on that floor in order to play, avoid the Raiders. You have your ends directly from and inside of them. Then you have your covers. You'll have a left and a right. And at 7-on-7, you will have your best Raider as the center defender.
Yeah, man. And what everybody needs to understand is the covers truly are there to cover up your Raider, because you don't want the other team's Raider to come down and slap your Raider, because that's your best point scorer. And that is the name of the game, is to score points. You know, it is great to play defense. And like he said, people need to understand the one position that sounds like it doesn't do a lot, but when you watch, you realize the strain and torque these guys have is the ends. Because these corners are flying around trying to get momentum so that they can come flying at these Raiders. And, I mean, they're using these ends to stay in bounds. So if you'll look, I mean, these ends are taking all kinds of torque on their body holding these corners in bounds, which is absolutely insane to think about, because, I mean, these corners are slingshotting off these guys full speed to take these dashes to get these Raiders out. So, I mean, it's a lot of theory involved, man, but every position on there really plays an important part as far as everything, like, going down. Now that you know all the player positions, go watch the games. Remember, we're not good enough to go play yet, but go watch the games. Maybe one day we'll be cool enough to play, but right now as a country, we suck.
I can't believe that. It's 20. I mean, come on, America. We can do better than this. Let's learn about this.
Negative 240 in a single tournament? That's not even a season. That's a turn. Put it this way, the Teglu Titans are having a god-awful season, and they're negative 103 for an entire season. An entire season. We doubled that in a week-long tournament. Did we play 5 games? Like, that's what I want to know. It didn't even say how many games we played. All it says is, like, our point differential was that, and I think that means, I mean, the easiest way to understand what they said was you're not getting invited back. Like,
you guys just stay home,
dude. I mean,
that's what we're here for.
We're here to change it, but we're also here not to do the American thing and be like, oh yeah, we be Americans and bring a bunch of freaking pro athletes. No, it's not like that, man. There's so many concepts, and like, I'm really into sports theory now, especially after officiating. And there's so much theory that goes into how this game is played that people don't really pay attention to, as far as timing, who you send over on raids for certain raids. Because, I mean, certain teams have do or die guys. Like, that's just your dude. He only goes for do or die, so your main raider is not your do or die guy. Because, I mean, that's kind of risky for your main point scorer. I mean, like, there's a lot of, who you put in to do what, and especially when, like, who was it? Hell, I mean, I'll just talk about the Panthers today. We got lucky, dude. We should have been close to all out twice and had one of our bigger Raiders, one of our big defenders went over and he got 2 points one time, came back with another point and a bonus as a defender. I mean, just played out of his mind. Got Arjan back on, and boom, and we started rolling. Next thing you know, we're up by 10. Like, I mean, that's just how it goes, man.
You have more than one Raider on your team? What is that like?
It's actually kind of comforting to know that we have Raiders that sometimes do different things. Like, I mean, we really have 3 Raiders, possibly 4. We got 2 all-arounders that are pretty efficient Raiders when needed.
Well, let's get to watching these fixtures. If there's like 3-4 days left, I'm super excited about this. I'm turning on Hulu. I'm going to check out ESPN Plus because, hey, it's everywhere. This week I've told 3 people about it, and let's hope those 3 people tell 3 more people about it, and we'll keep growing this sport in America.
Speaking of tell people about it, if you're listening to this podcast, maybe, hopefully, sort of, somebody will, please tell everybody else to listen to this podcast. We love Kabaddi. We want to bring it back to the States and do it right. But to do so, we really got to get a fan base, man, and build it up to where we have people that are interested in the sport and not just the showiness of going to some big event and trying to show the sport, but actually worth, putting the work in, like teaching the kids the sport, man. Because if you don't put a base down, it just doesn't get any good. So, hey, I'm Lee. That's G. This is Super Raid Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. We will holler at y'all next week. Deuces. Thanks, everybody. That's been this episode of the Super Raid Podcast with your host, G and Lee. Be sure to hit us up on Twitter, Super Raid Pod. Be sure to hit us up on Gmail, superraidpodcast@gmail.com. See you soon.
mean, if you're gonna raid, you might as well make it a super raid.